Hey, sports fans! PBnZ Sports Chaos Wildcard Weekend! PB, quick shout out to the brew. What do you got?
This is my favorite IPA in South Florida, Screaming Rails. It's from Saltwater Brewery in Delray. Love it. Cracking one for the show tonight. Here we go.
All right, Wildcard Weekend. We got a lot to talk about. It's like the March Madness of football season, right? We got some trilogy games. We got three. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm getting Zoomed bombed right now. What is going on here? What? Hold on. Are you serious?
G-Money's coming into the mix.
Oh my God! G-Money crashed the party. Are you serious?
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey!
You son of a bee. Oh, all right. Okay.
We got the money, man. Cheers, brother. We got the money, man.
We got a lot to talk about. We're going to preview these games for the weekend coming up. We're going to start off in a minute about the coaching changes. A lot of stuff happened. We had 8 coaching changes, 6 this week. And I got to ask you guys in a minute, the Belichick coaching tree. I don't know. Another question I have for you guys before we pick the games, we're going to talk about what do you think of the top 5 coaches in the playoffs right now? And who has the most pressure on them in these playoffs? So we're going to talk about that. PB, a question for, hold on one second. We're going to shout out the Bruins because they had back-to-back hat tricks last night and Wednesday night, the first time since 1982. The little ball of hate, Marshawn and Pasta last night. Congrats to the Bees, right?
Go Bees.
All right, PB, who won our Survivor Fantasy fans? For you don't remember what it is, Survivor Fantasy is we pick 5 players. You don't get any substitutions all year long. Injuries, it don't matter. Trades, it don't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. You're stuck with those 5 guys all year. Give us the roundup.
Yeah, well, and you and G-Money both made little runs there at the end and got yourselves into like the top 5 or top 6, which is pretty cool. But there was 2 clear front runners. It was Freddie and Jeff P. Freddie ended up pulling it off. His team consisted of Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, which were the 3 guys that basically carried. You're talking about the top running back, top receiver, and I think top quarterback in all of fantasy this year were those 3 people.
I don't think Allen was anywhere close. It had to be Rodgers, probably then Mahomes, maybe Brady.
Yeah, from fantasy perspective, I think Allen was definitely up there. But anyways, then he had Miles Sanders and Michael Gallup, which of course he needed them to get points to help him win. Otherwise, he wouldn't have won if he didn't have their points. But obviously, not the 2 people that really contributed to that great score he had. The guy for the second was only 12 points behind him. After all those points, it was like 1,260 something points. He was only off by 12. He had Justin Herbert, Zeke, Debo, Thielen, and Mark Andrews. So those were the top teams in our league. 19 teams played in this league, by the way.
Ooh, okay. Nice. It was good. It was fun. That's the way fantasy should be. You don't make any changes all year long. You're stuck with your team.
That's why we call it Survivor. That's why we call it Survivor. You got it 3 years in a row now. Hey, last week was a wild weekend in the NFL, huh? I mean, first of all, it was the most watched NFL weekend since 2016. He had 3 overtime games with all teams being involved in playoff implications. And the very last game of the year was a winner take it all, right, to get in the playoffs.
I stayed up for the whole thing. I was up to like 12:45.
Well, you can't say Mike Tomlin can't say the same for that, right?
And by the way, that game featured 3 scores. Can you name another overtime game that had 3 scores?
Oh.
Right? They both kicked field goals back and forth, and then the Vegas scored on the game winner. By the way, Vegas had 6 walk-off wins this year. FYI.
Impressive.
A little TYK for you. There you go. Hey, all right. I got to ask you guys about the coaching changes because we had 2 in-season moves, Urban Meyer and then Gruden from the Raiders. We had 6 more this week. What was the most surprising in your mind, PB?
I got to go with Brian Flores. I don't think anyone saw that one coming. He's done some pretty good things with this team. This year in particular, starting off 1-7 and getting his team basically into playoff contention the last couple of weeks of the season was a pretty good turnaround. I think he's done a lot with that defense. We saw what they did to the Patriots in the last game of the season. They're a team that's right on the cusp of getting themselves into the playoffs, and I thought they'd give him a couple more years to get that figured out. And they got Tua, they just drafted Waddle, some guys that can start to do some things on offense. So to me, that's the biggest surprise. I don't think he deserves it. I think he has a ticket waiting for him with another team.
G Money, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with PB. Flores was the best coach by far. He's going to be the number one choice from the 7 vacancies that are out there. But I'll add one to the mix. David Coley surprised me. Houston played really hard for them, and I'm surprised they let him go. I know I guess he didn't get along with the players that well, but they overachieved with them. So I was surprised about that.
I'm with you. By the way, PB, there is one person that predicted Brian Flores. I've said it for a year now, and I felt it. Although I thought he needed to lose this game and finish under 500 for the owner to cut him. But first of all, he's had 5 coordinators, defense and offensive, in 3 years. He's had over 7 assistant coaches. He's fired all of them. That shows me that he can't lead effectively. And I believe that's why he got fired at the end of the day. He doesn't have good harmony with the management staff or the general manager. He had to go. I think he'll learn from this, but he had to go. By the way, I'm with you on that, G Money, David Culley. The other thing about this is you now have 2 more disciples of the tree. The Belichick tree. Judge, thank God, they finally smartened up in New York, and of course Flores, which means now you have Mangini, Romeo, Josh McDaniels, Al Groh, Bill O'Brien, Matt Patricia, Flores, and Judge, and not to mention Nick Casario, the general manager, who I think is on a short string in Houston. Is this taking the legacy of Bill Belichick?
Can I take that one first?
Yeah.
All right, let me take it first. No, and here's the reason why. What you just actually talked about, Z, is that part of being a good head coach is being a good leader. And when they're under Belichick, he's leading that coaching staff. He's leading that team. When they go off, they don't just have to become coaches. They also have to become leaders of their organization. That has nothing to do really with Belichick. So they find themselves, maybe they have the football knowledge to be a good head coach somewhere, but they don't possess that same leadership skill. So I'm not going to associate the two together.
And I'm going to add to PB's. I agree 100%. I think this, if anything, just cements his status as the best coach of all time. But also, I think it says that he does more than just coach. He's managing the offense and the defense, because these player personnel folks, these offensive and defensive coaches that go elsewhere, they fail. So I wonder how much they're actually even doing for the team. I'm thinking Belichick has a wider reach on the team than we think he does.
So that's a good point, G Money. Maybe he doesn't give them as much knowledge specifically to what they're good at, right? I'll just say this. If you're a good leader, then if your players mock you, then that should follow suit. The problem is they all mock him and they getting pushed out of their organizations. You can't follow Belichick's role model because it's not acceptable anymore in football. Any level of football, I hate to say it. It's just the way it is. Players don't accept that generalism. You know what I'm saying? When I say generalism, I mean patent type approach that he has. So I don't know. Hopefully Flores learns from it. I think he's a good coach. He needs to be a better leader. That's all. All right. Before we get on to talk about these playoffs, what player, and I'll start with you, G Money, what player is under the most pressure to perform in these playoffs?
I would say Aaron Rodgers. He made such a big stink earlier in the season about how he's leaving. He wants to be traded. They had a great season. They're in the #1 seed for what, the 3rd, 4th year in a row? And if they go to the AFC, especially if they go to the NFC Championship again and get beat for the 3rd year in a row at home, that's an issue.
Woo! All right, PB, what do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I didn't have Rodgers in my mix. I was tempted to talk about Dak a little bit just because the Cowboys have gone 27 years without a Super Bowl with one of a storied franchise like the Cowboys. They got to turn the corner and get something done here soon. So I was tempted to pick Dak, but you know what? I went with Matthew Stafford. And the reason why I went with Matthew Stafford is just because the Rams traded for him to win a Super Bowl. They're under McVay. They've obviously done well. The missing piece was the quarterback, and Goff wasn't the answer. And they shipped Goff off to Detroit. They got Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's been too much of a roller coaster performer though this year. So I don't know if he can get it done. And I don't like his chances going into the playoffs. I mean, even the first game against Arizona they could drop that one. But for them to get through that NFC to me is tough. And the expectations are that he does. He's in a big market. He's in LA. That's the pressure quarterback right there.
Nice. You guys both win. That's what I had. It was a tie. Stafford definitely because of what the trade was. But by the way, Goff is much better than what people think. Stafford's proven that every day now. And Rodgers, everybody calls him the greatest of all time. He's got 1 Super Bowl title. Ben Roethlisberger has 2. Eli has 2 for crying out loud. Come on. That's all I got to say about it. If Aaron Rodgers cannot get to 3, by the way, there's only 4 guys that have 3 or more. Aikman, Montana, Terry Bradshaw, and obviously the GOAT, right? Tom Brady. So if Aaron Rodgers can't get to at least 2, he has to get to 3 in my mind. But if he doesn't get to 2, then he's a choker.
All right.
I agree.
All
Still
right.
a Hall of Famer.
Hey, speaking of Hall of Famers, all right, these games, playoffs, you guys agree coaching makes the difference?
Oh, yeah.
It does,
100%.
for sure.
G Money, give me your top 5, 1 to 5 coaches right now in the playoffs.
Yep. Belichick, Tomlinson, Reed, Matt LaFleur, and Arians. Bruce Arians.
Woo!
Interesting.
All right. What do you got, PB?
All right, I'm gonna go 5-1. I don't agree with Arians. I think he inherited Brady, and that's when that team's been good for the last 2 years. They were garbage without him. So I'm gonna go with McDermott as my number 5, just because of the fact that he's had 4 out of 5 years making the playoffs since he took over that team, even pre-Allen. Reed would be my number 4. Mike Vrabel, I have at number 3. He hasn't had a losing season yet. With the Titans, and 41-24 overall in his career coaching that team. So big deal there for him, and I think he's made the playoffs now 3 years in a row. Number 2 for me is Belichick, and I'm not talking about all time. I'm talking about right now coaching teams going into the playoffs, and that's because he took the one thing they said to Belichick: show me you can do it without Brady. Well, he got a rookie quarterback. He's got him in the playoffs, something he didn't even do with Brady. So I think that's a big deal. That's why I have him at number 2. And number 1 for me is LaFleur. He's had 26 wins in the last 2 seasons. That's by far the most of any coach in the first 2 seasons for the Green Bay Packers in the history. And they've had some pretty good coaches. And also in the Super Bowl era, his first 40 games, better than any other coach in the history of the NFL in the Super Bowl era. So he deserves it. I got him at number 1.
PB, you didn't have Mike Tomlinson, or did you? I missed it.
Tomlin?
Yeah. Oh, Tomlin. I don't want to call him Tomlinson.
Tomlinson.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I left out Tomlin. I left out McVay, and I left out Arians.
How'd you leave out Tomlin? He hasn't had a losing season. The guy is
you have to.
unbelievable.
So unfortunately, PB, you're wrong again. You have to count resume. So Belichick is number 1 because of the resume. Unfortunately, you have to give him the credit for that. You have to give Tomlin number 2 because of the resume. He never had a losing season in his entire career. No other coach has that. It's coached over 10 years. So LaFleur doesn't count yet. Kyle Shanahan, because he's the most ingenious guy today, coaching in the game, most creative. He's been there with 2 teams now. I know he wasn't the head coach in Atlanta, but he was the de facto head coach. You got to give credit at the end of the day to Andy Reid, although I'm not a fan of his. I think he gets by sometimes with fluff, but you have to give him his credit on his resume. And then the other guy is definitely Sean McVay, without a doubt. Been in the Super Bowl. Matt LaFleur hasn't been in the Super Bowl yet. So
I agree. I agree with. I'm not going to not argue them. I had them right on the cusp too. But my way I took the question was right now coaching, bringing these teams into the playoffs. Who are your top 5 coaches? I wasn't looking at.
Still going to give resumes to the guys that have been there because been there is going to count. At the end of the day, it's going to count. Look at Brandon Staley last week. That was a playoff game against Vegas. He choked because he doesn't have enough experience, right? G Money.
Yeah, he's not a good coach. I'm not impressed with him.
No.
He went for it from his 18. Come on, that was insane.
All right, hey, let's talk about these playoffs. Let's get into our previews, guys. One thing to keep in mind, a little DYK. Since 2017, Wildcard weekend, 11 road teams have won versus 6 home teams. So 11-6. By the way, those 6 home team wins, less than 5 points, every one of them.
Wow. Yep.
Good thing I like all the dogs.
And last year, 4 out of the 6 road teams won.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, let's get into the first one. Las Vegas goes to Cincinnati. By the way, we have 3 rematches and 2 trilogy games, right? 2 teams that play twice before, and then we have three others that played once before this season. One of these rematch games is Las Vegas, Cincinnati. PB, first, what do you think?
I like the Bengals here. I think since they both haven't been to the playoffs in a while, but Cincinnati's got the firepower. I know Vegas is playing good right now, but I just don't think they'll be able to get to Burrow, and he'll use all three of those receivers, Higgins, Boyd, and Chase, all day long. Then add in Mixon to the mix, and I think they just have too much power there. They'll keep it close, but Bengals will win.
G-Money.
Yeah, I was tempted to take Oakland for the win because Oakland is the best team at getting pressure without blitzing, and Burrow struggles against non-blitz pressure. He's the worst QB against it. He thrives against the blitz. So I was tempted to get Oakland to win outright, but I think ultimately Bengals win by a field goal. So Oakland will cover the 6.
That would be Vegas now. But hey, by the way, a little
Oh,
DYK
Vegas, I'm
for
sorry.
you guys, a little DYK. Cincinnati's 31-year playoff losing streak started in 1991 when they lost to the then Oakland Raiders. By the way, the Oakland Raiders had the 4th longest losing streak. Their last win was in 2002. So 2 teams with a little history on the side, not good.
Right.
I'm with you guys. I think Cincinnati wins. They get too much offensive firepower. I'm with you, G-Money. Burrow could struggle a little bit with no pressure, but I think at the end of the day, he finds a way to pull it out. He's too cocky. All right. New England goes up to Buffalo. Interesting. The last time these two teams ever played in the playoff. Any ideas, guys? DYK?
I have no idea.
Harry Bledsoe's day or something. I don't know.
1963 in the AFL division playoffs.
Wow.
Wow.
There you go. Hey, I got a little key for you guys to think about before you give your previews. Mac Jones, mac and cheese. He's 1-5 in games that he has 2+ turnovers. He's 9-2 otherwise. So the other one, I heard this one the other day. Josh Allen, it's going to be sub 32, sub freeze. It's going to be 0 actually, right? In games that he plays, sub 32, his quarterback ranking is the last in the league.
And he does 50%.
That's right. He blames that on
completion.
poor circulation. So Bart Scott, you guys know who he is? Linebacker from the Ravens and Jets. He says, take Viagra. It opens up the blood vessels if you want to have a good game. So Josh Allen, I shipped you some Viagra. All right. G-Money, you go first with the Viagra. What do you think of this game?
This is a very tough game to cap. My heart tells me the Pats, obviously. I'm a Pats fan and a Bucs fan, but I'm a Pats fan too. But my head says Buffalo. The reason being is rookie QBs historically have not been able to win a playoff game. I think they're 1-8 maybe. I mean, I don't know if it's very, I think I read a stat. I think they're maybe 1-9 in the last 10 games. Rookies don't typically win in the playoffs. So because of that, because of the home field advantage, and I think that offsets how bad Allen does in the cold weather. So I think Buffalo wins by a field goal. I hate to say it. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong on this one, but I think Buffalo will win, unfortunately.
I hope you're wrong too. All right, PB, what do you got?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm thinking along the same lines as G-Money on this one. But I'm going to go the other way. And I'm not going to go the other way just because I'm a Patriots fan. I'm going to go the other way because I really think at the end of the day, Belichick is going to figure this out. He's already played them twice in this year.
All right.
The running game is going to be crucial. And we all know the Bills struggle to run the ball. Singletary's been doing decent in the last few games, but some of those were against teams like the Jets, right? So I just don't think the Bills will be able to get it going on the ground. I'm not saying it's going to be a repeat of what we saw last time, but you're talking about temperatures where that ball is going to, people's hands are going to be cold. Just to throw the ball, to even kick a field goal. We're going to see teams probably going for it when they're at the 32, 30, 28-yard line, when normally you would be just trying to kick a field goal. That could keep the scoring down. I think it's going to be a special teams game. There's going to be a fumble or two on a punt. There's going to be field possession is going to be critical, and time possession is going to be critical. When I look at those 3 things, or 4 things, if you want to add in the running game, the Patriots favor in all of them. They're better against the run. They can certainly control the clock with time of possession. They certainly have good special teams, and they can get turnovers. So why not take the Patriots? I think logically it makes sense.
All very good points. I'm with you on that. I agree 100%. But at the end of the day, Mac is a rookie quarterback. I don't think the weather with no wind's going to be a factor. In the NFL, you get used to the weather. I hate to say it, but you get used to the weather. At the end of the day, you're ready to go in the game. I think at the end of the day, Josh Allen pulls it out, even though he has poor circulation in his feet. The Viagra works. Buffalo wins. I'm with G Money.
All right.
All right.
I hope you're
Philly
both
goes
wrong.
to Tampa Bay, a rematch from early in the season. Tampa Bay won, close game, 28-22. What do you guys think? We'll start with you, PB.
Yeah, Eagles don't even deserve to be there. This is easy. It's Tampa Bay all the way. I mean, Eagles showed you what they're really made of when they got smoked by scored 50 points against Dallas when Dallas scored 50 points on them. So Eagles one and done. Bucks all the way.
G.
Yeah, Eagles are #1 rushing team in the NFL, and the Bucks are #3 rushing defense in the NFL. It's strength on strength. I don't trust Hurts to win the game. I think the Bucks win by at least 13, probably 13 to 14. I think it's a dominant performance from the Bucks.
That's
And
a
the
good
Eagles
point. You're
haven't
right.
beat
That's strength
one
versus
winning
strength.
team at all this year.
What's that?
They haven't beat one winning team this year, the Eagles.
No,
All
they
their wins are
haven't.
against
No, they
losing
haven't.
teams.
And to your point, PB, you're right. The Cowboys just ran up and down on them. Granted, they had the JV playing for Philadelphia. I think one of the guys that played semi-pro was out there playing defense. But anyways, but I agree with you guys. Tampa Bay all day long. I think this will be the biggest blow of the weekend. All right. This is a game that's going to be very good. The other game on Sunday in the afternoon, San Fran and Dallas, a little DYK for you. Did you guys know the last 4 times these guys played the playoffs, the winner won the Super Bowl?
Oh, wow. Interesting stat. Interesting
Yes.
stat.
By the way, a little stat for you before you guys give your predictions. I'll let you go first, G Money. Jimmy G, 7-0 this season when he doesn't throw a turnover, 2-6 when he has a turnover. What does Dallas lead the league in?
Turnovers.
Takeaways.
There you go. All right, what's your prediction? Give us
In
the
spite
preview
of that,
prediction.
yeah, in spite of that stat, I think the fact that San Fran is a dominant run team in Dallas, that's their one struggle is against the run. I mean, they're not the worst, but they're not the best either. I think San Fran's going to run it down their throats. They're going to give Debo the ball as much as possible. I think San Fran wins a close game. I mean, by 3 max, maybe by 1, like 24-23 type game. I know you're going to hate to hear that as a Cowboys fan, but I think San Fran matches up well. They have the better coach. They have a strong defense, good defensive line. I mean, I think they have what it takes to beat Dallas. If Dallas was playing against anyone else other than the Bucks, I thought they would win. But I think it's a bad matchup for Dallas, personally.
Agreed. What do you think, PB?
Yeah, I agree with G Money 100%. I think San Francisco can get after Dak, make this a challenging game. Cowboys haven't really impressed too much on the ground. So it's going to be in Dak's hands, and I'm not sure if he can get it done. I'm really looking for a big game out of Mitchell for San Francisco. I'm not sure. I love Debo. I'm not sure if he's going to have a huge game or not. They may have Micah kind of spying him out and getting outside when he tries to run the ball. I'm not sure he's going to have the best game. He'll certainly get his touches. But at the end of the day, I'm not putting this game in Jimmy G's hands. I'm putting it in the running game of San Francisco, and I'm putting it in the San Francisco defense. Those are the 2 things that are going to help him get the win here. It'll be close, but I'm taking the Niners.
I'm with you guys. This is going to be one of the 2 best games of the weekend. The other one is Monday night. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I was on the fence. I was going to pick San Francisco up to what I read earlier today. San Francisco's defensive backs are altogether rated 31st worst in the NFL collectively as a team. Cowboys are the 2nd best passing offense in the league. So, having said that, I think they exploit, going back to what you guys said about Philadelphia's run team and Tampa Bay's run defense, Cowboys take advantage of a weakness with their better passing team. I think it's a high-scoring game, unbelievably not, and Cowboys win in a shootout.
Okay.
I mean, that's a tough game to cap. I could see that happening. I could go either way.
Yeah. All right. Pittsburgh at KC. This is the biggest blowout on Vegas's books anyways. 12.5 point spread. What do you think, G Money?
It's no secret that I despise the Chiefs, and I root against them almost every game. And I've lost a couple bucks going against the Chiefs, unfortunately. But I'll tell you, I think I want Pittsburgh to win. I like Big Ben. I think he's a great player. I mean, he had a rough start to his career, but I think he's redeemed himself over the years. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I hate to see him go. I think he's going to do everything in his power to keep it close, but I think ultimately the Chiefs win by 7. They match up too well against Pittsburgh.
Okay. What do you got, PB?
Yeah, Chiefs all the way. That 7 points is being very, very, very generous here for Pittsburgh. I just think this is a blowout. Probably the biggest blowout. Vegas has it right. It should be the highest spread on the books right now. There's just the Kansas City has turned around their defense, and their offense is so dynamic. I know CEH isn't playing this weekend, but that doesn't matter because Darrell Williams can step right in. He's a better pass catcher anyway. So definitely looking at the Chiefs blowing them out.
Well, interesting thing about that. I'm with you guys, but here's the thing. Pittsburgh's weakness is, PB, you tell me every single week, is stopping the run. KC is the 25th running team in the NFL, so they're not a good running team. Pittsburgh's strength is pass rush. They are number 2 in pass rush. KC's win rate against the pass rush is 29th in the league. Guess what? Pittsburgh can rush the passer and put pressure on them. If you can rush 4, which they can, TJ Watt is the all-time sack leader. Mike Strahan's record doesn't count because Favre fell down. And they got Cam Hayward, who's another tough pass rusher. I think they put enough pressure to keep this game competitive. You're right. It's not going to be a Pittsburgh win at all. I think it's not going to be 12.5. I think it's between 7 and 12. At the end of the day, KC wins. That's my thought.
I'll say KC by 17.
And I think you're wrong. All right, moving on. Arizona versus the Rams in a trilogy game, the last trilogy game of the weekend. Both road teams won this year. Arizona is 8-0. Is that what I read?
8-1
on the road.
Yeah, 8-1.
8-1. That's right. What do you think, PB? You're up first.
This for me was the hardest game to call.
I agree.
And at the end of the day, I talked about the pressure that is on Matthew Stafford to win in LA. That factors into it. McVay certainly factors into it. I'm not sure if they're, with Sony Michel as a running back. I know Cam Akers is back and may see some touches as well. So that even puts more pressure on Matthew Stafford. But I think at the end of the day, it's the Rams game. It's the Rams game to lose. So they gotta win. I think they gotta go in and win this game. The Cardinals are just not showing me enough down the stretch. They started hot and they faltered as they typically do down the stretch. I'm going to go with the Rams.
Gee, what do you got?
If this was the first half of the year, I would have been on board with PB's prediction on the Rams, but Matthew Stafford hasn't looked right. I mean, he's something's up with his back, or I know he had a back injury. He just doesn't look right. And Arizona, granted, they lost last week, but I'm still impressed with how they played. They are, I think they have what it takes to upset the Rams. At the very least, keep it a competitive field goal game either way. But I do think the Cardinals will upset the Rams. I think the Rams are going to be as good as Stafford is, and I don't think he's that good right now. I don't think he looks. I'm not impressed with him lately.
Wow. All right, we're going to think about this. So we talked about the fact that the road teams are 11-6. The only road team you picked, PB, was?
Well, I picked the Niners and I picked the Patriots. So there's my 2. Yeah.
There's your 2. You got Arizona, G, right?
I got Arizona, San Fran. I got all of them except Buffalo and KC.
All right. You know what? You guys make good points.
Well, you didn't take Vegas. Wait, you didn't take Vegas. You took Cincy, right?
Oh, okay. I was thinking the spread.
You're
right. So I'm 3-3 on road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is the best box office quarterback in the playoffs right now. There's no one that's more exciting in the playoffs than him. I mean, there's other guys that are better as quarterbacks, but box office, meaning you're going to hold your breath, you're not going to go to the men's room when he's on the off field, it's Kyler Murray. To your point, though, Money, they've played very, very well at the beginning of the year, the Rams. I think they find a way, though, PB, going back to your point, get back to that. They got too many all-stars on their team. They traded for Matthew Stafford. To your point, he's got the most pressure on his shoulders. I think it's still Aaron Rodgers till he wins 2 Super Bowls, but I'm going with the Rams myself, so I got Rams as well.
Interesting. All right.
But it is the best game of the weekend. And by the way, can I add? Monday night playoff games suck. You should not have a Monday night playoff game. It's
I kinda
unfair
like it.
the next weekend.
I like it, especially because it's a Martin Luther King Day. We're off that
I
day.
get it. We all love it, but it's not fair to the team that has to play next weekend because conceivably you could play on Saturday.
No, I
Oh,
bet
yeah,
you that. No,
totally.
they'll make that game a Sunday game the following week.
Well, depending on what other upsets there are, though. So,
We'll see.
all right, boys, good show. We'll see what
Great show.
happens. Have a good weekend. It's
Yeah.
Christmas for men.
Yes, it is.
All
Thank you
right,
for having
boys,
me,
take
guys.
care.
All right.
Good weekend.